And welcome to the 27 people, 27 movies. Joining us today to talk about her favorite movie, we have Vivian to talk about The Truman Show. How are you, Vivian?
I'm good. Thanks for having me. I'm excited.
I'm excited to have you here. So you are not only a podcast guest, but you are a podcast host.
I'm on Operation Tomatometer. Check that out.
Operation Tomatometer. Go listen to it. Well, let's talk about The Truman Show.
Yes.
1998. Jim Carrey, I can't overstate how big Jim Carrey was at this time.
I love him, yes.
So like In Living Color was the sketch comedy show that was on earlier in the 90s. But by the time we reached The Truman Show, he's had like just this amazing run of movies. The Mask, Ace Ventura 1, Ace Ventura 2, not as good, but The Cable Guy, Dumb and Dumber, Liar, Liar, like monster movies. He is as A-list can be at this time. And along comes The Truman Show, which is all those movies I just listed are just straight up in-your-face comedies, which he excels at. I mean, physical comedy, he's hilarious. But he also has this aspect to him, the more dramatic role. This comes out. I also think there's something to the context of this movie of reality TV, right? Like, so The Real World on MTV is like 1992, the first time that like really like we see like people's lives being chronicled. And then a couple of years after that, the first year of Survivor was a like cultural thing. Like when it was on, when the winner of Survivor was announced, like everyone talked about this thing. Now like reality TV is super diluted. Like it's basically become every type of TV, scripted TVs, too expensive to make, and we like watching real people fight each other. So that's kind of gone its way. It is entertaining. So I think the context of this movie is really interesting too. Like as like reality TV had been around for a little bit, but it hadn't fully exploded yet.
And I feel like it's really prominent now, just sort of like that feeling of being like watched, because just in like my generation, I feel like there's a lot of like paranoia. So it's like I feel like this movie does a really good at depicting that and sort of giving in to the delusions that some people have about being watched.
Absolutely.
Like that.
And we'll talk about that in a minute. So we got Jim Carrey, we got Laura Linney. I also threw Noah Emmerich in there, who plays his friend Marlon. And
He's good.
And then we have Ed Harris, who is nominated for an Oscar for this, for Best Supporting Actor.
Best Supporting. I hate that Jim Carrey was not nominated for an... He won the Golden Globe, but didn't even get nominated for an Oscar.
I could look and see. This was an interesting year for the Oscars, because this was like Saving Private Ryan. There were a couple of monster movies, and then Shakespeare in Love won everything.
The Truman Show was like, I've never seen anything like it.
Which is where I think it should have won. It was nominated. Andrew Niccol was nominated for Best Original Screenplay. In terms of, again, the time that this came out to kind of like tell this story, but it lost to Shakespeare in Love. Peter Weir was nominated for Best Director, lost to Steven Spielberg. So I got my notes here. On day 10,909, just short of his 30th birthday, a light fell from the sky and changed everything for Truman Burbank. So let's start there. I mean, like, does he have a sense of all this? Do you think throughout his life he had an idea he was being watched?
No.
Yeah.
I mean, they did some like flashbacks from like when he was in college, and he just seemed like a normal guy. And I think it's probably due to the fact that not everyone revolved around him, and I feel like they made that an important part so that he didn't think or even like sense anything weird.
It wasn't
about his
everyone,
life.
but then he starts to like pick up on it at different times when he sees like all like the extras, all the actors are kind of just doing the same thing. He notes when he sits in his car, this is gonna come, that's gonna come.
It's like he starts picking it up.
But it's the light that really grabs his attention, as it literally grabs his attention.
And then there's also like the elevator scene where like the back of the elevator is gone.
They got a little sloppy with that in terms of their production. They did not do a good job there. But I mean, like I said, I did the math. 10,909 divided by 365. He's like almost 30 years old. So he gets a pretty good run into his life before everything starts to fall apart.
Which I think is worse.
Why is that?
I just feel like you already have such a pre-established life, and to just start coming to terms with that it's all been fake or programmed for you to do certain things, that would stress me out to the max.
Everything, 29 years of living.
It's like fake. It's not even your decision.
Everything was just kind of put on you. Your life has been dictated by other people from the moment you were born. He becomes, they say, he's like the first human to be adopted by a corporation or something.
Terrifying.
It sounds so dark. It sounds
if
so
that
myopic.
actually happened, our society would crumble.
So that's the ending thing, right? There's always like suspension of disbelief with any movie, but like this is so unethical that like you have to imagine this would have been stopped by some. I mean, there are the girl who he kisses and kind of like
and
becomes the advocate for him. Like there seems to be some grassroots
Lauren
groups
or
that are pushing against it, but like this seems like some type of government official should get involved and shut down the production of this TV show.
Yeah, like the whole movie, I just did not like Christoph, Ed Harris's character.
It was
I didn't
so
feel
on
for
the
him.
nose. Like I didn't like the portrayal, and that's like he was nominated for Best Supporting Actor.
Like,
which
I
didn't
feel like
but just like the beret, the Birkenstocks, like did he have a scarf? He might as well have had a scarf on. It was too on the nose of like who this guy would be. And also like how much older. If Truman's 30, is he like he's been in charge of the TV show the entire time it's been on the air, like 29 years? Because like he would have to be pretty old, or he would have been running it since he was like, 20-something years old. The actors throw me off. And this is, again, suspension of disbelief. Do all these people go home at night? Do they have to live in this place?
Yeah, it's like, how does one dedicate their life? And also, like, what about their parents? Because, like, the best friend has been with Truman his whole life.
Yeah.
So it's like, was he, like, also sold to the corporation?
And he gives that, like, one time he was gone for a month because he was sick or something like that, where they kind of give, like, a backstory where he might have not been there for a reason, but still, like, they would have been there. Like, where's Laura Linney going? Like, she's married to this guy. I know we have, like, the fingers crossed. They're not actually married, like, in the picture, but these people... The actors are sociopaths. To be able to do this to someone is super extreme.
Yeah. Like, I feel like Christoph is portrayed as like the terrible, inhumane character, but I feel like everyone who's a part of this plays a big role in it.
So there's so much psychology to this. There's been studies done on it. So one of the things I read is the proximity principle. The degree of moral responsibility that we have to a person is proportional to how close we are with them. It could be physical closeness, it could be emotional closeness. So then that brings up the question, do these actors have some type of moral obligation to tell him the truth?
I mean, just as like a human person, I would think that yes, because I can't imagine doing that to someone. And also, like, do they start like gaslighting themselves into thinking that this is real life? Because they start to care about
but then
Truman,
like, it is their real life. It's the weird thing where like it's not real life, but it is their lived experience.
Yeah.
Like they are in this dome, in this sphere, whatever it may be,
so
like
maybe they're
24/7, like
that they're.
And like she might as well, even the fingers crossed, like she might as well have been married. She was married to him. Like they had a life together. They have they don't give any type of backstory. I feel like that's a really interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if is there a prequel to the Truman Show that tells you? Is there a sequel? I mean, sequel. I think like
that
in
could
the Truman
be good.
When he leaves.
I'm one who doesn't like. I love all movies, but the ending can ruin a movie for me.
And what did this one do for you?
Literally, it's like he goes to find Lauren in the real world. I didn't like that.
Out.
I wanted to see more.
Good morning, good evening, and good night.
Yeah, good ending line. I didn't need any more lines after that. I wanted to see more, though. I'm just a curious gal, I guess.
Even if they gave a little bit, like something down, 10 years later, and like a wide shot just of like him living his life.
Exactly. Like, I would have been fine, because I care about him.
I could see that.
I care about Truman.
The entire experience in there is this, like, brainwashing, gaslighting of this person, right?
Yes.
Establishing this fear of travel. Like, when he goes to book the tickets,
oh my God,
and all the
Fuji?
posters are like, this is dangerous to travel. Don't do this, don't do that. The fear of the ocean. They kill his father on the boat.
That is crazy to me.
The fear of dogs that he has. The teaching him, like, have limitations in your life, right? Don't try to push yourself out. Where does his sense of adventure and exploration come from?
Well, it starts to really pick up once things start falling apart.
Yes.
So I think he's getting the sense of something's wrong. I need to get out of here and sort of see the whole world.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking about, like, his fear of the water, because they literally killed his father to make him scared of the water, and then the father comes back and it's like, no, I actually wasn't dead.
Yeah.
What?
Which maybe we can shout out the dad there, because he just showed up. Like,
yeah,
because
he showed
they rushed
up out
him
of
off.
nowhere.
They didn't bring him back, like, in the show. Christoph at one point says, "We accept the reality of the world with which we are presented." And there's a lot of philosophy here too. Plato's The Allegory of the Cave. Essentially, people are comfortable in their ignorance. And when people try to force them out of that ignorance, they can become hostile towards them. Essentially, your reality is all that you are exposed to, but it's not all that is. With that in mind, the Truman Show, not the movie, but the TV show within the movie, is it fake?
Like, if we're thinking about just, like, technically, like, yeah, it's fake. But I think that just emotionally, it's probably one of the most real, like, TV shows I've, like, ever, like, even, like, thought about, like, just the premise of it. Because, I mean, Truman's, like, a human person. Like, this is his life.
Yeah.
And it's just, people are literally just, like, enjoying it so much because I think people are just naturally interested in others.
Yeah. And getting that peak. And especially when, like, this sounds super stalkerish, watching someone when they don't know you're watching, right? That idea of, like, really seeing what people are like. So now let's look at the bigger thing, the Truman delusion. This is a thing that came out in real life.
Okay.
Joel and Ian Gold in 1998, they wrote a paper, Cognitive Neuropsychiatry. But essentially, this is what it says. This is a novel delusion in which the patient believes that he or she is being filmed and that the films are being broadcast for the entertainment of others. We describe a series of patients who present a delusional system according to which they were the subjects of something akin to the reality show. Have you ever felt this way?
Absolutely.
I felt
Absolutely.
this. I felt this too.
I don't know why, but all my friends in like 2020 were just convinced that they were living in a simulation. And like it's sort of like a Matrix-y vibe.
Yeah.
It's like you're just living in this world that's like not real, and it's like just like this world is just somewhere else's just like TV show.
It's like there are things that happen to you in life that are like, wait, how did that happen?
I have like dreams and then it'll happen like in the future. And it's just like when I think about it too hard, my brain hurts.
Yeah. This is a very layered movie, right? You can look
Yeah.
at it, but there's a lot of philosophy that goes into it. There's a lot of psychology that goes into it. There's a lot going on here. I loved a bunch of little Easter eggs. The boat that he wanted to be an explorer growing up, they tell him not to. The boat that he's sailing on is called the Santa Maria, like Columbus. When they're live with Christoph, did you notice they're like, oh, and we have a call from The Hague that didn't go through? They're like, call from The Hague. The Hague is like the international court for criminal justice that like
really?
they would be calling in to be like, you shouldn't be doing this type of thing. But like the call kind of gets cut off.
Yeah.
Christoph views this as this whole thing, right? But at the end, I love the last scene because the two security guards are just like, okay, what else is on? Like the show ends and then it's like click. Like all of this stuff is just like, I think it was like a great foreshadowing of where we are now, where everything is just so disposable. It's like, this was the big, from the news to entertainment. And there is a lot of crossover between those two things now.
Yes.
Everything's like, oh, it's here. This is the biggest thing ever. Now it's gone. Now it doesn't, what's the next big thing?
Exactly.
And like seeing that like to film this show for 30 years, to have all this, and then just like that, it's over.
It was just like so weird because it was like someone's life. And like they can just throw it all away so quickly.
And it's gone just like that. I like the movie. I think the story is great. I think it's original. I don't think it's a great movie. I will give you this. If you are looking for a serious Jim Carrey, Eternal Sunshine of the
with Kate
Spotless
Winslet,
Mind.
of course.
That's one of my favorite movies ever. That movie hits. So I would recommend The Truman Show.
I would too.
But Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, I would also recommend. Well, thank you, Vivian.
Of course.
This was a pleasure. Follow The Classic on Instagram. Follow The 27 on Instagram at The 27 THHS. Watch us all on The Classic TV on YouTube so you can have all your stuff caught up on. Thank you, Vivian.
Of course, this is why I love being a host.
Excellent. We'll see everyone next time on The 27.
Bye-bye.
See ya.
Awesome.